Now we have the recording in progress. I didn't hear the voice that says the recording is in progress. So hopefully it still did that. Can you all still hear me well? Give me a thumbs up in the chat or just a yes. Okay, Julianne heard it go. Recording is in progress. Amazing. Okay, so what we are going to do tonight is we are going to talk about how to meditate for anxiety and depression and our mental health. We're going to talk about what you might be doing right now as a meditation. And I put this in quotations like a total ass for so many reasons, but we are going to talk about what meditation is and this purpose for working on mental health. And then we are going to talk about the things that you might be doing that are wrong. And I don't mean wrong as in what you're doing is bad, but I mean, if we're not seeing progress in the anxiety and the depression realm, then there might be some adjustment that we can do in our meditation in order to build that skill. Okay. Then, of course, we're going to do the meditation together. And then after, we're going to talk about what happened. Okay. So hopefully in this webinar style Zoom, because I don't have all of your faces popped up here, hopefully I can at least let you raise a hand and then maybe allow you to talk. I don't know if I can do that. I'll do it at the end. I'll do it at the end. I was just going to totally single one of my patients out and make you talk right now on the camera. But I will wait till the end and we'll see how that goes. Okay. So yes, we are going to do all of that. But first, we are going to talk about why meditation is so important. Okay. And it's not what most people think. I think that people always hear in like the media and research and, on the latest blog post, it's like, we need to meditate for our health. And everyone's like, okay, great. Like, what does that even mean? Right? Is it the fact that we're sitting still for a few minutes in the day? Is that supposed to help our nervous system? Or is it the fact that we are focusing on our breath for a few minutes in the day? Is that why it's working? And really what I want to hammer home today is the point that meditation is mostly, I'm not going to say only, but mostly helpful for our mental health, because when we practice it the way that I'm going to teach you, what it builds in us is tolerance. Okay. And the lesson that I want everyone to take home today is that meditation should be teaching you how to sit through your shit, sitting through your discomfort. Not relaxing your body, not relaxing your mind, not chilling out, not like, again, I know I talk about the nervous system a lot, but we're not trying to like relax our nervous system right now. We're not activating the vagus nerve. We're not doing anything fancy. We are legitimately learning the skill of sitting through our shit. Okay. Because meditation is highly uncomfortable. For my patients who are in here in this live right now, and you do have a steady meditation practice, I want to hear from you right now, just so that you can let all the other people who are listening in know how uncomfortable this practice actually is. Okay. Because I think we have this illusion that we're all going to lay on our backs and like put an eye pillow on and sniff some lavender, and then we're going to go to the land of peace. And what I always stress to people is before you head out on a meditation journey, you need to know that the point of it in the context of mental health is to create discomfort by experiencing yourself and then learning how to work through that on the spot. Okay. I'm seeing one of my patients come through. It is so uncomfortable, but I've learned so much from it. Yes, there is nothing that silence can't teach you. And I think that I said that in the last live that I just did on panic and anxiety, because it is one of the most non-replicable activities that is going to improve your mental health in a way that you have no idea because you've never practiced it before. And I think that most of the people that I have as my patients now, and people that I have spoken to in the breakthrough calls, so anyone who in here right now who's had an anxiety and depression breakthrough call, you know that I've called you out for the types of meditations you're doing. So I am a huge proponent of silent meditation, not guided. So what we do today is not going to be a guided meditation. I am going to set you up. I'm going to tell you exactly how we are going to sit. I'm going to tell you what your body's going to do. I'm going to tell you where our focus is going to be. And then I'm going to walk you into the meditation, but we will be silent for 15 minutes at least. So tell me right now in the chat, be like, yes, I am up for this, or heck no, I am leaving immediately. Okay. I also want to know if that lesson is making sense to us right now, right? That we need to sit in our silence in order to experience ourselves, right? Because I think a lot of people with anxiety and depression think that if we just keep ourselves busy, if we occupy our minds better, if we do more, then our mental health is going to get better. And I cannot stress enough how backwards that thinking is, because we have to actually learn how to be comfortable inside of our own skin and quote unquote trendy love yourself. That's not going to happen until you actually learn how to sit through all of the things that make you uncomfortable. And then you will build tolerance. This is the same reason why I love to use yoga to do this kind of stuff. But I think that meditation is just so more blah, blah, English is so much more difficult to implement by yourself. How many of you find it hard to be like, okay, I'm going to meditate today and then actually sit and do it? Yes, patience, I'm looking at you right now. If you are in here and that is something that you do, you're like, okay, I'm going to meditate today. It's going to be so easy because I'm just going to sit and do nothing. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you look at your clock. You're like, okay, I'm going to start in 2 minutes because, you know, it's 8:15. Okay, I'll start then. I'll do it to then. Okay. Then 8:15 comes and you're like, okay, I'll start at 8:20. You know what? Maybe like I'll just do it later because, you know, sitting is hard. Right. And this is like a bargaining that we do with ourselves. But I'm telling you guys, like, you're just sitting. Okay. That's not the hard part. The thing that is making you resist wanting to sit and do nothing is what's happening inside your mind. Okay. We don't like the feeling of stillness. We don't like the feeling of discomfort. So there is only one thing to do, and it is to sit through your shit. If you walk away today and your brain is just going, sit through your shit, sit through your shit, sit through your shit, then you are my people. Okay. Because that is a sentence that I consistently come back to when I'm in my meditation and I go, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Or I'm in it and I'll be like, okay, it's been enough time. I'm done. I say to myself, sit through your shit. Right? Because that is the learning lesson, is learning how to sit through that discomfort instead of giving up when it feels like it's too much. Because then you are actually teaching your nervous system, I can't handle myself, so I'm going to leave. I can't handle myself, so I'm going to distract. And that's just not a good lesson of self-esteem. So when we start meditating, we are actually going to rewire that neural pathway of, I can do this. I am enough. I'm actually good enough to sit with myself. And I can actually accept myself as I am because I now have the tolerance to do it instead of being afraid of what comes up. Okay. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. Now we're going to talk about the setup for meditation. We're going to get there, but this is important because I don't just want to throw people into this and be like, okay, we're going to do a 15-minute meditation, have a nice time being tortured, and then see ya. Right. So what we're going to expect when we're sitting there is your body is going to feel uncomfortable and your mind is going to race. And you are going to be paying attention to your breath. And you are going to be feeling your heart beating in your chest. And you are going to be thinking to yourself, wow, when is this done? And then you're going to go, wow, this is really great. And then you're going to go, wait, when's it done? And that's going to happen over and over and over again. And the most important thing I can tell you at this exact moment is this is going to be like surfing a wave. And I just want you to ride it. And I want you to be chill. You don't have to be professional, but you do have to have some chill while you do it, in the sense that there is no escaping. You will not be leaving it. The purpose is to get to that point where you go, I don't like this. And then we work through what that means on a subconscious level as well as a conscious level. Okay. Am I setting this up well for you right now? Or am I like making some of you nervous? And if you are nervous, that's all good, because the first time I meditated, I actually didn't know what I was getting into. And I was left in the meditation for 45 minutes and had no idea what time it was. I had no concept of time because I wasn't a skilled meditator at the time, and it was completely silent, and it was extremely torturous. So I won't put you through that, but we will start somewhere. Okay. So from a physical standpoint, this will not be completed laying down. So if any of you are on the floor right now and you're like, okay, I'm going to get cozy and I'm going to lay down on your back, that is not going to happen right now. Okay. All of our meditation is going to be done seated. And there's a reason why we do that. Traditionally, we do want the energy channel of your spine to be open. But from my perspective, I want you to actually feel physical discomfort. If I lay you down on your back, then your body's going to be like, okay, we're napping. We're good here. There's no discomfort, right? I want you to feel what it's like to actually have to hold your body up and be aware of your body and your breath and your heart rate and your hips and your, butt sinking into the ground and your leg that falls asleep, which it might do. I want you to have that experience so that you have physical discomfort, so that you can extrapolate that lesson to when you are feeling anxiety or having a panic attack. And you're like, oh, I can actually sit through discomfort without it taking over me. So that is the skill that we are going to practice when we're in meditation here. Okay. I'm saying okay, like you guys are there and you're going to answer on the other side being like, yeah, okay. But I realize that I'm the only one that can talk right now. Okay. One of my patients, oh no, I usually lie down. Well, Julia, you better figure it out tonight. I'm glad you showed up because we are not looking to make ourselves comfy. I want you to learn how to face all the discomforts so that you build that skill. I am going to repeat that sentence 5 billion times until it gets through to everyone's head. Meditation is not about being relaxed. It's not about being zen. It's not about levitating. It is about struggling and suffering. And truthfully, yoga and meditation at its core, that is what we're trying to get at. Okay. As bleak and as bad and as scary as that sounds, it is going to bring you some really epic things on the other side. And I know that there are people in here that have experienced it, and I have too. So let's just leave it at that. Okay. So we're going to do it seated. We are going to have our legs crossed. If you are sitting on the floor, great place to be. If you'd like to sit up on a pillow, that's also an option. Okay. So we're going to elevate those hips so that the legs are going to have an easier time sitting in that seated position. We're going to have the hands placed like this. So if I can stand up for you a little bit right now, your hands are going to be like this and your thumbs are going to be touching. Okay. That's option one. And then they rest in your lap. If you'd prefer to have your hands on your knees, that's fine as well. But I think that this position is better because it's more relaxed for the hands and the elbows don't feel like they have to, straighten, and then the shoulders aren't going to be so heavy. It's just nice to have them in the lap. Okay. For the face, and this is a very important thing, and we forget about it because we're like, why would we think about our tongues while we're meditating? I can tell you after so many years of meditating and so much drool coming out of my mouth, which will happen to you if you're not paying attention. And also it's distracting to do this all the time and swallowing your spit, which you will be doing. Okay. But you're going to place your tongue on the back of your teeth like this, on the top teeth, and you're going to let the lips relax. Okay. So it'll look like this. My face didn't look very different too there, but you have that tongue pressing into the back of the teeth. So it's in the most relaxed position. We have the jaw relaxed, we have the lips relaxed, and the biting surfaces of the teeth are relaxed. Is this all making sense so far? I know it sounds like a lot of technique, but it's actually really important so that you're not coming to me after being like, I was drooling the whole time. What do I do about that? We're trying to reduce the obstacles right from the start. Okay. So we have those hands. We have the legs crossed. We have the tongue pressing into the back of the teeth. We have the face relaxed. Now, once you are locked and loaded in this position, you will not be moving. Okay? Not to scratch an itch, not to shift a hip, not to move a shoulder, not to put your hair behind your ear. Nothing. Anything that's out of place will remain that way till the end of the meditation. And the extrapolation or the analogy I want to use with this is nothing's ever going to be perfect. So don't try and find perfection before you do something. Okay. Things are going to start feeling freaking weird anyway when you're meditating. Your arm's going to feel weird. Your leg's going to feel weird. Your senses are going to feel weird. You're just going to remain still. Okay. One of the pet peeves I have in yoga, because like yoga practitioners actually aren't as good at meditating as they should be, but they all like go into shavasana at the end and then they like move their shoulders and they wipe their sweat and they fix their hair and they scratch an itch and they're like, no, silence and stillness. Okay. There is no such thing as silence without stillness. And there's no such thing as stillness without silence. So we will not be moving. Okay. Now, a lot of people love to ask, what do I do with my breathing the entire time? We will not be forcing any breath. We will just be observing what our breath is. The same way that you've been sitting here for 15 minutes with me already, and none of you have gone, how am I breathing? You're just going to breathe. Okay. That's a part of the challenge of what this is, not controlling your breath, but focusing on it. How do I see something and observe it without changing it? Okay. Big lesson, life lesson, mental health lesson. Can I feel a certain way without doing something about it? Can I experience something without doing something about it? Okay. So we are going to use the breath as a teacher there, and we're just going to let it move. I'm someone who gets very air hungry. It's a symptom of mine when it comes to my anxiety. Breathing makes me anxious. What a wild ride for me. Okay. So if that happens to you, it's normal. You're going to be more aware of your senses, and that's okay. All right. So we got the position down pat. We got the stillness down pat. Do not freaking move. And then we have our breathing. We do nothing with it. We just let it move. Is this all sounding good so far? Doable? Understood? Give me a yes in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a hands up. Maybe give me an upside down smiley face being like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. We do not slouch, Chelsea. We sit up straight. When you start to notice your spine rounding, you can give it a gentle lift. Okay. If it feels comfy to slouch a little bit, that's all good too. Everyone's going to have a different back. Everyone's going to have different pains. Some people are going to come out of this being like, wow, my neck. Some of you are going to come out of this being like, my foot's asleep, right? So this is all individualized to you. These are just things that can happen. And I'd love for you to pay attention to how still the spine is remaining, even when you want to give into that urge of laying down. Jen with the upside down smiley. That's what I asked for. All right. So what I'm going to do here, it's 8:23. Look, I talked your ear off for so much of this time. We're going to be meditating still for 15 minutes. I know you thought that I was going somewhere different with that, but I'm not. All right. So I'm going to turn the timer on. We do not meditate without a timer. We do not do that. Why? Because we don't want to open our eyes and check the time and say, how long has it been? That is going to remove the challenge of what we're doing. So we're going to have the timer on. We are going to stay here until it goes off. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that's what we're going to do. All right. Abigail's already saying, thank you for this. You don't know what's going to happen yet. All right. Oh my God, that was such an evil laugh. Am I well? Okay. So do we all consent to 15 minutes? Are you locked and loaded and ready? Give me a yes if you're ready to go. I'm going to have to do another meditation with my patients because I can see how many of you are in here and you're like, 15 minutes? I got that. I already practiced 20. Yeah. We're going to do another one in our actual, in our group call next week. We're going to do a longer one. We're going to be tortured into a 30-minuter. Yeah. Start panicking now. All right. So I'm going to turn off my camera. That's the first thing I'm going to do because I'm not going to open my eyes. I'm not going to have you guys watch me. I'm also not going to have the replay with my meditation face happening. So I'm going to turn off the video now. Let me know if the volume is still good. Amazing. Okay. So we're going to find ourselves in a seated position right now. Wherever you are, you're going to cross those legs. And I will tell you when the meditation is going to begin. First, we're going to set up the physical body and then we're going to dive in. Okay. So we have those legs crossed. You're going to place your right hand into your left, just like I showed you on the camera. We're going to have the right hand cradled inside. Then we're going to tap the thumbs together. And I want you to feel how relaxed the hands can actually get there. Okay. Relax the shoulders down, give them a little jiggle and a shake. Give those knees a little wiggle and a shake so that you feel the sits bones dropping down into the floor, assuming that's where you are right now. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to close the eyes. And right away, you might start to notice that your body just went, woof. I don't know. Yeah, you might be climbing up a roller coaster right now. I'm ready to drop, but it's all good because we're not going anywhere. I want you to place the tongue on the back of the teeth like we talked about. You're going to separate the lips, the biting surfaces of the teeth, and letting the jaw relax. You might even notice that the forehead is still feeling a little bit of tension right between the eyebrows. You're going to soften it. And then I want you to soften even into the eyelids. You might feel like they flutter a little bit when you do that. And that's just the muscles letting go. And as you sit here, lengthen up through the spine. The slouching might have already started. So lengthen up, re-soften the face. And I want you to start to notice the air moving in and out through your nose. Colder on the way in. And a little bit warmer on the way out. You're not doing anything with that breath. You're not trying to pull it in deeper. You're not trying to fill the lungs. You're just letting it move. And this is where I want that focus to stay. Just on the body, reminding yourself stillness, stillness. And feeling the air move in and out, no control of it. Just letting it move because that is what your body was designed to do. And each time that feeling of anxiety starts to build in your chest, the I don't like this, say to yourself, that's what we're practicing. That's what we're practicing. And that's what we're practicing. Simulating discomfort so that we can learn to tolerate these feelings with so much more ease than we're currently doing. And we're going to start the 15 minutes now. Not opening the eyes, not shifting, sitting through whatever comes up. Slowly, I want you to start to come back to a deeper breath. And feeling the state of the body change as you take the breath in now actively. Again, softening that spot between the eyebrows, feeling the face lift a little bit. And I want you to slowly start to move the thumbs apart from each other. And bringing small movement back to the hands. Wiggling those toes a little bit if you can even feel them at this point. And then slowly bring the hands toward the eyes and cover them. Open the eyes into the hands first. And then you're going to release the hands down. I'm going to turn my camera back on. I'm going to look a certain way after I finish a meditation always. We are going to start off nice and slowly here because some of you are coming out of that as chill as a cucumber. And some of you right now are dripping sweat. And if there is one thing to describe the first meditation that I ever did, I was as sweaty as I would be if I ran a marathon. So the first question that I'm going to ask, and I might even can I do polls in here? I can. Okay, let's see if I can create a poll. Oh, just kidding. I can't. It's making me sign into so many different places. Here, we'll do the emoji thing again. So how many of you were actually able to keep your focus within yourself without your mind wandering away? If you did, be like, yep. If you didn't, send me a capital letters no. Because that is the most common misconception about meditation is I can't meditate because my mind keeps wandering. And the way that I always answer that to people is I go, good, that means you're alive. If the human mind is not wandering, it's not functioning, right? The process of meditation is not how do I get to a point of my mind not wandering at all, but how do I get my mind strong enough to continue to remember to come back to where I am? Whether or not you chose to think, okay, my thumbs are touching, my thumbs are touching, my thumbs are touching, or I'm breathing, or I'm meditating, whatever it is. Or even I'm struggling, whatever you come back to, that's perfectly fine. And we don't want it to be that you never linger away from that thing. We want it to be that the moment that you start to leave it, you come back. And they've even done research in monks where they're watching their brainwaves and seeing what happens. And even the most well-practiced people in this world who are living today, they wander. They just come back at much a faster pace than regular people do, which is the interesting thing about meditation is you actually strengthen that muscle of staying in the present moment. So most of us were not able to keep our focus. Well done. You're a human being, right? Now, did any of us have any experiences of our body doing something where we were like, that's weird? I want to hear about it. If you did, and you actually want to talk, maybe you raise your hand, like do like the hand up thing. And then I can click on you and I think I can allow you to talk. I'm seeing Nicholas type yes. So maybe raise your hand here. Julianne has something. Let me check with you. Julianne's one of my patients. I know her. So if I say allow to talk, can you talk now? Or can you turn your video on?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. So let me know if you're talking right now.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Oh, my volume's all the way down. I can hear you. Okay, Julianne.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What did your body do when you were in the meditation?
Well, I feel like, my body did a lot of things. I definitely get like super uncomfortable during meditation. like to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this feeling right now.
Yep.
But I have been working really hard to do what you say, just like, okay, this is what we're practicing. And I do notice the sensation like eventually passes. And then I remember one time you telling me that not there is never a sensation that lasts forever. And I always keep that in my mind. And I say, okay, this sensation is going to pass eventually. And sure enough, I notice like soon enough, my mind will wander to something else. And then I'll be like,
Yes.
oh, I don't feel that itch right now anymore. Or I don't
Yes.
feel that like weirdness in my chest anymore.
Mhm.
And then eventually it'll come back again.
Yep. Back in and
But
out of awareness, in and out.
right. But
And
yeah, no,
itch,
I definitely get like super uncomfortable and it's like really hard for me. I don't know if that's still normal at this point in my
yeah,
practice, but
still normal.
okay.
So I'm seeing some people type in some other stuff right now. I'm gonna allow Chelsea to talk right now because her hand is up. So I'm gonna pivot to Chelsea.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Okay. So I noticed that my heart, like, well, I was breathing faster on and off, and like I felt like I was gonna be able to not breathe at one point because like
Yep.
I was paying attention to like my breathing and my
Yep.
heart rate, and it would pass and then it would come back again, and then eventually towards the end it didn't come back.
Right. Yeah, I would say I'm seeing also someone else talk about heart rate. So like heart rate and breathing for me were always the most challenging things to get through right at the beginning because I was really tripped up at this concept that like my body out of my own awareness was beating its heart and was moving its breath without me, but I could also control it at the same time. But then if I didn't control it, how could I let go of control to let it happen because I was now aware of it? And that was like a thing that I really had trouble busting through at the beginning. I mean, that is going to be something that goes away over time. I don't think about that or panic about that anymore. But at the beginning, when I first started meditating, I was like, that is wild. Like, how can one thing be two things at the same time? And that was one of like the first realizations I had where I was like, that is just so fascinating. The concept, two things can be true at the same time. Two things can be in control at the same time. Not one is not neither better or worse or stronger or weaker, but two things can actually exist at the same time. And that was a very interesting lesson I was able to take out of my meditation. I'm going to mute you, Chelsea, right now. And I'm going to speak to Jen. Jen is saying that she could feel her pulse stronger than normal throughout the whole body. Again, really normal experience, especially because when do you ever pay attention to where your pulse is, right? If we go like this, we'll be like, okay, I feel my pulse. But like sometimes when you sit in stillness, you'll actually start to feel your pulse in your stomach, in your shoulders. You'll be like, what? And then you're like, wow, I forgot blood runs through these things too. But you're never mindful and paying attention to that experience. And the human body, when you pay attention to it, is both exhilarating and also anxiety inducing. And that's a lot of a similar experience that people with anxiety will get when they're sitting, is they're like, I didn't know all of these things were happening. But when you start to pay attention to it and realize that that's the same level of discomfort as, let's say, an emotion or a thought, then it really all comes out in the wash as I can get through this. I know what that feels like. That is discomfort, labeled, controlled, content. Nicholas is saying, I felt I was vibrating and I felt my pulse. Yes, that is something that I consistently will feel. I will feel my whole body almost feels like I am in alignment, that there's buzzing kind of going upward. And Dawson mentioned floating. So that is a very consistent sensation I get, which is pretty common. That's why we hear, oh, I was levitating, or meditators levitate. It's because when we have that energy kind of going up through the top of our head and down through the tailbone, it feels that you are actually lifting because your spine is aligned for the first time that it probably has been in a very long time. And there is lymph moving through there. There is neurotransmitters. There are neurons. Everything is moving through your spinal column. So it's a very fascinating feeling to have, especially when you're sitting and paying attention to it. Has anyone, and I want to know, like with maybe a hands up again, has anyone ever seen the movie Inside Out, where it's like the emotions and there's characters inside the brain? I don't know if it's a Disney movie. Do we know what I'm talking about? Give me like a yes in the chat or a hand up. Yeah. So one thing that always comes to me like really strongly when I'm practicing this kind of stuff is visualizations. And I'm not creating them. They spontaneously come to me. And one of the most fascinating experiences I've ever had in meditation was as if these little people were living in my head. And, you know, I don't know if it's actually in the movie, but I imagine one of them like pulling a gear shift and then all of them flying up as if like they were all starting to infinitely leave in a rocket ship and fly up through the roof. But like everyone's inside my head because I would feel all these things. Like my thoughts were there, my emotions were there, my responses were there, but we were just like flying up. And that is a visualization that has stuck with me for a very long time. And every single time I get that like floating or levitating feeling, I think about how that spontaneously came to me and how weird it was. It wasn't like I watched that movie and was like, wow, that was very impactful, even though there was moments of it that were, but that is something that stuck with me. Is what an interesting thing to feel like you're in there and you're along for the ride, and your body has this ability to have all these different physical experiences when you haven't even left your seat. And you haven't done anything except sat still, right? So imagine all the things in your life that you don't have access to because you are not sitting still, because it feels scary or foreign, or it feels impossible to do. It's like, just sit and do it because you genuinely do not know what you're going to experience on the other side of it. Julianne's coming back through. My back was feeling tight and I had a crazy urge to move, but I didn't do it. Be proud. I am proud. Do we have any other physical experiences that you guys had? Anything else? I can hear from you. I can let you talk. Let's go. Raise a hand. Share what happened. And then we're going to talk about some negative things that happened, because meditation does come along with a lot of negative things too. We like to think it's all positive vibes only. Like, no, this is going to be filled with struggle and negative vibes. So let's open up the floor to that. Let's talk about a self-perceived negative thought that came up where you were like, yeah, I don't particularly like this. And I'm seeing Abigail come through saying, I felt as if I couldn't breathe properly. Yeah, really normal. Really normal. And I know I spoke to that already, but like, how weird is it that you are sitting there trying to focus on your breath, but focus on it just enough that you're not actually controlling it. And then when you start to notice that you're controlling it, you're like, okay, wait, am I focusing too much? It's like a mind fuck. Chelsea, I felt as if I was getting bored towards the end. Okay. So how many of you actually found the feeling of boredom? I'm waiting for more of you to come through on this. If you did, say yes. If you didn't, say no. Some people at the beginning of meditating, like, boredom is not a feeling because they've been doing it for so long. I mean, they've been doing it so like not long enough in the sense that everything is an experience in that moment. Very transfixed on that. Boredom is a sensation that will come along the more that you practice it, because you will at times, and I wish one of my patients was in here right now. I saw her start and then she left. So she's going to be sending me words after being like, I hated that. But sometimes what boredom comes out as is, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. I'm feeling uncomfortable, but instead of my brain registering it as registering it as discomfort, I'm going to register it as I'm bored. Kind of like the same way. And I don't know how many of you like to do this, but imagine you're like watching Netflix and then on your phone at the same time. How many of you are like watching the TV and then it feels like an insignificant scene, so you grab your phone? Am I seeing hands up, or am I seeing people come through with yes, no? Let's do yeses. How many of you do that? Something else I notice is I will be working out, or I'll be on the Peloton, and then I will reach for my phone when I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'll label it as bored. Like, I'm bored. What am I bored about? My legs are like dripping sweat. There's something boring about it, but my brain needs to reach for something else. And I think that is, I want to say, one of the emotional lessons that you'll learn in meditation is that the things that you think you're experiencing aren't actually what you're experiencing. And our label system, or our organizational system, is not as sound as we think it is. Okay. So that is something that I don't want to like spill the beans and give you all the answers right now. Like this, some of you, this is your first meditation, but I want you to look at that and say, okay, where could I be also having this discrepancy? If it is as hidden in plain sight as me experiencing boredom when it actually might be frustration and discomfort, where else could I be mislabeling what I'm feeling and then having a response to it and thinking that it's one thing versus the other? That's like a high level thinking, cognitive conversation that we can have. Chelsea, yes, I kept wanting to grab my phone. And when you spoke, it made me jump as well as what Jen said. Okay. So some of you were legitimately at peace at 15 minutes. You were like, okay, I got the hang of this. My monkey mind went for 10 minutes. And now suddenly in the last 5 minutes, I was able to really settle in and lock into that and actually not focus on anything. You were able to just sit there and be like, this is silence. Right. So meditation, no matter if you're doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, there's going to be peaks and valleys. There's going to be moments of anxiety and panic. And then there's going to be moments of your own body relaxing and teaching you, this is okay. This is okay. We got this. And it's going to go up and down. And then you're going to go, oh, now I feel bored. Oh, now I feel this. Oh, back to the thinking of my breath. Oh, no, now there goes my mind. It's trailing. Peace. Right. And when you recognize that, it also, Anne actually shared that I shared with her before, which is like all things will pass as long as you let them sit there for long enough. It'll be there. It'll be at the forefront of your mind, and then it'll pass. And you'll be like, huh, that's weird. Where did that go? And it's why I always tell people, like, sometimes emotions are liars because they're all temporary. And if we always act on the way we feel in the moment, then we're not going to be really living an aligned experience of who we are, because we're just going to be like chaos all over the place and never find content. And what we need to recognize with anxiety and depression is these moments are peaks and valleys, and they are moments that we can actually move through if we allow ourselves to sit in them instead of trying to control everything and panic and throw our tentacles at the wall. I've been saying that so frequently lately, but if you just sit through something, it actually will resolve. And if you build that skill of learning how to cope, like so many of you are like, I need coping skills. I need coping skills. I'm like, learn to sit with your shit, because you will be able to build that muscle to tolerate more over time. Okay. Abigail, I felt more like I was convincing myself that I'm breathing fine most of the time meditating. Yeah, that is something that I went through a lot of the time. Was it's okay. This is breath. This is what it feels like when you start to pay attention to it. My breath hasn't changed in the last, 24 hours. So why am I experiencing it different right now? It is okay. This is just what happens when you shift your perspective. You have a different experience of something that was always there. And it did take a while to get through. And for those of you that have heard me talk live before, my air hunger was so bad and would cause so much anxiety to the point of like me thinking that I'm not breathing properly and then being like, oh, now I need to force my breath and all that kind of stuff. I forced myself to go scuba diving, because I was like, wow, I need some severe desensitization therapy. So I went down into the ocean floor and I said, you can't leave now. It's the same thing as a meditation. You can't leave now. You've committed to this. Find your stillness and sit through it. Okay? So it's all work throughable. Jen, I think that's 100% of my anxiety. My thoughts make me feel too much. Yeah. I think that everyone with anxiety and depression is legitimately the disease of feeling too much. Too much of one thing, too much of another, too much high, too much low, too much unsettled, too much not enough. It's like all over the place. And if we learn that we can feel things without responding, and we can become observant of how we feel, observant of how our brain is working without having a reaction to it, then that is the lesson of meditation that you're bringing out into your life. Which is why I say this is a pillar of mental health. You cannot even begin to start doing CBT and working through your thoughts and, controlling emotional regulation without learning how to sit through your discomfort and observing what that is. How do you respond? How does it feel? Can you look at it without doing anything about it, right? Non-judgmental thinking is the first step that I work with people in Peace of Mind Method. And all of my people that are in my program right now who are doing it know what I'm talking about. But you can't know that lesson until you start practicing mindfulness and meditation, because you have to sit and be able to have a non-judgmental thought about what it is that you're experiencing. Kind of like taking yourself and splitting yourself in two and going, I see how you are experiencing this. And then the cognitive side of your brain goes, instead of going blah, 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 right? And that is the best way that I can put it, is we need to create space between thinking and feeling and then doing, because really you don't have to do much about it. And that is where the anxiety starts to rear and show its ugly head. Is that making sense to everyone? Why meditation is so important. Yes. Abigail's asking, does anyone else experience heightened sense of smell? I mean, that's amazing. If you can heighten your sense of smell, imagine all the other senses that you can activate while you're sitting there, right? For me, I'm like a feeler. Like there's like the skin sensations are a big thing for me, and like the sensation of levitating and floating and the buzzing, that's like a big one for me. So I've never really paid attention too much to my smell, probably because if I focus too much on my breathing, then I know that I get transfixed in that realm. Did anyone else notice anything they want to ask about and talk about? Because meditation is a very fascinating experience when you do it and then get to talk about it. When I was learning, after each 45-minute to an hour meditation, the person who was teaching us would make us turn to the person beside us and talk about everything that we experienced from start to finish. And it was pretty wild. And obviously, you guys have only experienced a 15-minute silent meditation. But now that you did a 15-minute meditation, do you think that you'd be open-minded to trying more? Let me know. Give me a big yes if you are. Yes. Chelsea's kind of shocked right now. She's like, I actually started to relax at the end. Yeah, relaxation is a unexpected byproduct of meditation. And you will always be more relaxed at the end, of course. You're feeling your senses, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You are obviously as a byproduct, you are going to feel relaxed at the end. But we don't do meditation to relax, and not the entirety of your meditation isn't going to be relaxing. Sometimes you're going to end your meditation where there's a lot of thoughts happening and a lot of experiences, and your brain's really going, but your body's relaxed. And there's going to be a discrepancy between the two, and that's okay. Right? So not every meditation you do is going to feel like this, and it's not going to be exactly as it was today, and it might not be replicable. And if you go in with that expectation of, oh, now I can do meditation, I'm good at meditation, I'm going to get it done, and you have this thought process of, I'm going to achieve and I'm going to get good at, and I'm going to look for that physical sensation every time. For those of you that felt that levitation feeling, if you chase that levitating feeling, then you are going to be missing the lesson of meditation, because it is to have non-judgment, there's non-achievement in it. There is just what is. There's an experience, and the experience will come to you. You can't recreate it. And if the frustration starts to put itself in there, then we've lost the lesson. Jen, I'd be open to trying more. I feel like I fell asleep though. Amazing. I mean, I probably can predict that if we did longer than a 15-minute meditation, that a lot of you would be wrangly in here right now. You'd be a little bit more agitated than a 15-minute chill meditation. This is where I always suggest people start, because you get almost one wave of, ooh, I don't think I like this, and then you come back down, right? If you went through that cycle 4 times, you are starting to experience more mental agitation, which is why it becomes more fascinating as you increase in time. And then the consistency part is a huge thing. Being able to meditate on a consistent basis and having the motivation to, like I mentioned at the beginning, sit and do nothing is ridiculous. The motivation to continue on with that practice is what makes it hard. And it's what I work with a lot of people with in the program. So, I mean, you've heard from some of my patients today. They have talked and they have shared their experiences, but they have now experienced months of working on this and realizing how hard it can be, and how much even a meditation practice is a wave to ride, even not just when you're in it, but even throughout the week and throughout the month. So that is very interesting. Julian, for some reason, today's meditation was hard. It made me feel like I'm digressing, but I know that's not true. And I feel extra uncomfortable. Not sure why. You know what? I would say even for me, when I'm teaching it and I'm on camera, I have a completely different experience. So if you felt energy because you're in a group, or you felt like I was watching you, that can also create a different experience, even though you're not on camera and you know I'm not watching you, but you really feel accountable to me, then I also did play a role in a little bit of the meditation there, which is fine, right? It's a different experience to have. And I think sometimes my meditations are really, smooth. And I'm like, okay, cool, half an hour, bing, bang, boom. And then there's other times where I'll sit down and I'll sob for 10 minutes of it and be frustrated and not know why, right? So there is always going to be a different experience. Do not go into it with an expectation. It will always be different, and it is not a plot like this. I feel like my hands are going the opposite way for what you guys see. We don't just get better and get better and get better and get better. We just do this for the rest of time. The same way that your brain waves are moving in meditation, that is what your meditation is going to do forever if you actually commit to that practice. Okay. So Jen just said, I find the days that I struggle the most to meditate are the days I need it the most. And what I would suggest is create a schedule and then make it non-negotiable. Okay. We all have enough time to meditate. We all have enough time to learn these lessons. And the lessons that you learn while doing this are endless. And on top of even just doing the mental work of sitting there and doing nothing, you're also gaining so much nervous system regulation just by sitting and doing nothing. So this is the same. If you are going to work on your mental health, it's the same thing as flossing your teeth or brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Like, you're going to have to do the thing to have hygiene for the thing that you want, right? If you want nice white teeth, you got to brush them. If you want good mental health, you're going to have to flex that muscle. And it's something that I'm very strict on, which is why we do it at the beginning of the program when you're working with me, so that you actually can build that skill and feel how hard it gets when we implement it over time. Okay. Do I have any other questions from you guys in here? I love how many things you're asking and how much you're sharing. I think that it is a testament to how comfortable you actually feel to share this stuff and also like be in this community. I think it's really awesome. Yes. And when you lay down in bed at night, you have no excuses and nothing else to do. Yes. 100%. Get it done, but don't do it laying down. Sit at the edge of your bed, drop your butt down onto the floor and do it. Okay. That's what I would suggest. If you're going to do it laying down, just do it. Don't tell me. Emily, my arm felt completely detached from my body, like I was in sleep paralysis, which hasn't happened in the past year of meditation. It's always different. Yes. I have had, there was one time where my leg fell so asleep, and it was a long meditation, like another 45-minute one. It fell so asleep that I started panicking, being like, I don't think my leg is ever going to wake up from this. And then I'd be like, okay, that's silly. Like, obviously your leg's going to wake up. It always wakes up. But I was like, wait, no, like I've never had an asleep limb for this long. And then I thought to myself, oh, it's because you shake it out. But what happens when you don't shake out your limb and it's asleep? And then I started panicking. And then the whole thing was like going on in my head the entire time. And again, I was dripping by the time I was done my meditation. But it's a different experience every time. And that was a learning experience for me. Like, I walked away with the thought in my head and also the teaching in my body, like I can handle that. And also look how untrue my thoughts were. Look at the story I just created over a sensation, or look at the story I created over a feeling and an emotion. And I built my life around that. And I had an experience that created anxiety in me for something that just never warranted it. I genuinely made it up. And I felt it, and I felt the fear, and I felt the panic, but I proved to myself that it's all and unfortunately, it is a figment of your imagination when you really look into the experiences of your body and what's happening with anxiety, right? Not all of us love to hear that. But yeah, anxiety is so stressful, Abigail. Yeah, I agree. Abby, I'm new to all of this. That's all good. You start now. I started this stuff when I was really young, and like when I did it, I was like, oh my God, I'm so new to this, all these professionals. And then I realized as I got older, I was like, you're never not new. This is a new experience every time you do it. And okay, so I know how to breathe, and I know how to relax my face, and I know how to sit in stillness and sit through my shit and hold my hands and hold my tongue, and I know how to do all that. But you know what? That makes me better than someone else? No, it's still the experience. Sitting through discomfort, same thing every time. Working it, recreating the neural pathways in my brain. Okay. And, you will be shocked if you practice in this way, how it's going to change you. I have some of my patients in here right now. I mean, you could give some light to the experiences and the changes that you've had. And even when you didn't believe it, right? Like when meditation was presented to me, I was like, oh yeah, it's going to work. Cause like, why? I didn't get it. And then I started doing it and I was like, this is actually really fucked. Right? The changes start to happen and you're like, I didn't expect that. I didn't know that was going to shift and change. And I do know that I can't tell Julian if you're raising your hand. Do you want me to allow you to talk? I'm seeing your hand raised a billion times. Yeah, let me see. Hold on. I'll unmute you. Hold on. Okay, I've unmuted you, Julianne. Can you talk now? I can't hear you, but I can see that you're unmuted. I can't hear you. I can see that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Jen can hear you. Why can't I hear you? Guys, what's going on here?
Is your volume up all the way?
Guys, what's going on here? Well, I'm going to put my AirPods in because like, why is that happening? I can hear you now. Like I can hear you through my AirPods, but I can't hear you through my computer. The heck?
So you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess for me, meditation, and I've talked to you about this in our appointments, but it's like kind of manifested in different ways. Like it pops up through my life, just like ways. I'm so bad at describing it, but essentially like things that I would never expect to have changed because of meditation, like for example, I don't know, just like random moments when I'm anxious, like it's just easier for me to center myself now. And like, I just I don't know how to describe it. Oh, another good example I was going to talk about was the elevator thing. How like I used to be like so scared of elevators, and I haven't tested this yet, but like with heights, like I know like I get so scared of like heights and I get super claustrophobic. But like
I get extremely claustrophobic.
Right. So like literally I used to never, like I couldn't step in an elevator because I was just like so terrified. But now like I know that like even if I were to get stuck in this elevator, which is my worst fear, like I've learned that I can sit through like these feelings of anxiety. So like I worked myself up to be able to do that now, because now I just tell myself like, oh, I sit through these like 15-minute grueling meditations. Like if my anxiety, because I think that's the fear for me, is like I am going to have a panic attack or I am going to just feel horrible. But like I realized that since I can sit through this stuff, I can sit through anything. So
and for context for everyone, Julianne didn't like come to me at the beginning and was like, hey, Dr. J, I can't go in elevators. And like, I'd really like to improve that. Like that was never something we talked about. Right. And then randomly in an appointment, she was like, hey, by the way, I noticed after a month of practicing meditation, I didn't even think about it, but I went into an elevator and it was so weird. I've never done that. So that was the interesting thing, was that when you're not aware, sometimes things will just change for you. Okay.
Just like random things like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that example, like that's just one example, but a lot of different things in my life like that. Like even like traveling and stuff, I get super anxious, and like thinking about trips I have like coming up this summer. Like I just feel like I'm able to like process
she can now rise to the occasion.
Fears. No.
Yeah, your tolerance level increases when you practice meditation. Right. Emily, can I call you out for a second? Are you still with me in here? Can I call you out just to talk about what changed with the sleep paralysis? Because I think that that's a very fascinating thing, and you just mentioned it in the comment. So yes, let me unmute you. Can you allow to talk? Hi. Look at the power I have, everyone. I can allow people to talk. So just for background, Emily is one of my patients, and she has been for a long time. And Emily had a very interesting symptom where she would get sleep paralysis. So what that means is that in her sleep, she would be lucid and aware, but not able to wake up, and couldn't access physical movement in her body, but she was aware of it. So she would actually just have to stay sleeping and whatever panic would occur. And I know that there was a nightmare component to it, which, we don't need to really talk about, just in case anyone has a little bit of fear around those sorts of things. So let's talk about how that changed with meditation, because that was cool because we weren't expecting it.
Yeah, so that's something I dealt with for probably like 8 years, and it would happen sporadically. But when I started the program, there's that module on sleep, and it was really hard for me. And then by the end of the program, I actually had a night of sleep paralysis, but instead of it being completely terrifying, I was able to move myself through it. Like, I realized, it's a weird detail, but like my room was flipped in the sleep paralysis, so I knew it wasn't real. And then I was able to control it and get myself out of it, if that makes any sense what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's an episode of Stranger Things.
Yes.
Is anyone watching that right now? It's very scary. So yeah, it was an interesting thing because it's the skill of meditation of I am okay, even when you're not okay, is such a transferable skill into these random areas where you would be legitimately struggling. People who have panic attacks, when you start meditating and you're having a panic attack, you are like, oh, I'm having a panic attack. I feel this. I'm experiencing this. And you had those too. You had panic attacks.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting how the neural pathways shift in your brain and your tolerance level increases and your creativity changes too, right? A lot of us with anxiety and depression have this fixed mindset of it is this way. It has to be this way. There is no other way. We have no flexibility and creativity inside our conscious brain. And what this does is it allows our brains to bend a little bit more and have that creativity and go, maybe there's a different way of looking at this. But it's not something that you can talk yourself into. You actually have to do the practice to see the change, which is, it's a see it to believe it kind of thing. And I'm glad that I have my patients in here with me to be like, yeah, this shit actually does happen, because it sounds hokey. Is that the right word? Hokey? Hoaxy? Hokey? Whatever. And it sounds like, wow, that person's just a random occurrence. And it's like, no, I've seen this happen repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again. And I cannot stress enough, like, how silly people feel when they talk about it, because they'll be like, haha, you were right. I'm like, haha, I know. When we start to do the work, the things just start to shift. So that is something that I want everyone to walk away with today is do it. Just do it. Just get it done. And if you need help doing it, that doesn't make you any different than any of the other people that I've worked with, right? Obviously, you guys have heard me talk about meditation so many times, and you're like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll do it. It's like, no, if you want your mental health to change, you really have to get into that pocket of what discomfort is so that we can learn those skills, so that we can see tangible change. We need to stop asking for things to be different without changing what it is that we're doing. Okay. So I think I will leave you with that today, because I've been live for so much longer than I thought it would be today, which is a testament to the lovely conversation that we've all been having, especially me to myself on the screen over here. And I'm glad that I recorded it. Hopefully that meditation actually went through so that we can post this and people can listen and they can learn. Is there anyone in here before I leave that thinks they would find value from having a conversation with me after this? Because what I can do is I can give you my link to book a call with me, or we can just message me on Facebook, because I know you're all in the Facebook group already. So it is totally up to you. Nicholas, you're so welcome. He just said, thanks, Dr. J. I don't know if everyone saw that come through. And hopefully I will hear from some of you soon, just so that we can chat further and see how we can actually support your anxiety and depression without feeling like, you're banging your head against a wall over and over again, trying to do things and not seeing anything change. Okay. So please feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message. If you are someone who actually needs a link to book a call, you can email me too. Just respond back to the email that I sent out today about the meditation. Abigail, do you have that email? Yes, you got the link. Yes, girl. Just send me a message back in that reply to the email, and I will send you the link to do that. Okay. Julianne, you should do it, everyone. She's good. Yeah, I'm good. And I'm also a harsh ass of a doctor, and I know it, and I'm a pusher. And that's why we start to see changes when we do this kind of stuff. Okay. So we will chat soon. Thank you everyone for attending the live. And thank you for those that have participated in this chat today. That was a lovely time for me. I need to go eat dinner. For those of you that were here at the beginning, I taught yoga all night and then had zero gas in my tank, came here, sat down and did this with you. So I'm going to go nourish my brain and my soul and watch Stranger Things and not think about Emily while I do it. All right. I hope you all have a fantastic evening and a lovely sleep, and I will speak to you soon. Peace out, guys.